coming to you from the Dubai Cloud and Data Center Convention and Awards 2024, and joining me now is Donna Lorenzen, founder of HerWorX, also global board member of I Am Women. Welcome to W.Media, Donna.
Thank you so much. Delighted to be here.
All right, Donna, let's start with talking about women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There have been several stereotypes about women can't do science, women can't do math, but we have been seeing a lot more women coming into this field in different parts of the world, even here in the Middle East. What have you observed?
Okay, lovely question. And look, I'm an engineer by background. I came through engineering. I was one of 2 women in a class of 100. The stats have changed a little bit more, and it's great to see more women coming into the industry. I've been in this industry 28 years now, worked globally in the data center space. And look, yes, stereotypes that women really couldn't necessarily make it in a tough industry. This industry is tough. Let's not deny that. One of the challenges with this industry is actually making it attractive, not just for women, but for men and women in general. And that's why we have a talent shortage and why we need to do more around that. So in terms of what I've observed today so far at this event in Dubai, which is shaping up to be a wonderful day, I walked into the room and I did observe that there weren't that many women, I've got to say, compared to the Asia Pacific region where I spend a lot of time. That said, it's early on in the day and I certainly hope to see more, but that's just the state of the industry we're in. We know that the huge advances that we've got in technology, the huge growth curve means that we really have to focus on more people irrespective of gender in the industry.
We're also seeing a lot of women in entrepreneurial roles in technology and tech-enabled industries. What have you observed?
Yeah, certainly, and I think particularly post-COVID, where a lot of people stepped out of industry, were forced out. They had to step out. Their businesses were winding back. It really created a wonderful ecosystem for creativity. And there are some fabulous women. In fact, there's one today on my panel who's an entrepreneur based in Saudi Arabia. And people have just really stepped up, and it's wonderful to see women really embracing the challenge. So obviously as a woman, I'm going to be very pro-woman and support them in what they do. But irrespective, I've always been of the view, best person for the role. Anyone can be creative and create amazing opportunities in this space. So I'm really quite thrilled to see what's happening with women in the Middle East. Delighted, in fact.
Let's now talk about the data center industry specifically. You've seen this industry grow and evolve in front of you. What have you observed in terms of female participation in the industry, especially in the higher echelons of power?
So it is really encouraging to see more and more women taking part, finding their voice, having confidence. The data center ecosystem is really interesting. We used to think that you had to come from a traditional role, engineering or construction, project management, for example, but we forget about the huge ecosystem that really supports this industry. So one of my other hats is training. So I do global training in the data center sector, and that's a focus of my own organisation, HerWorX, as well. But what's fascinating is the transition for people wanting to come into industry completely from walks of life outside the data center sector, but equally, people who now understand their niche, that they can create a niche, whether it's in the legal sector, whether it's project management, whether it's quantity surveying, whether it's finance, whether it's HR, are just a few examples. This industry needs a very, very wide ecosystem to be sustainable. And I'm seeing more and more women. One of the things I'm passionate about is working with women to try and advocate and encourage them to join this sector. So that's one of the things I love about being part of Infrastructure Masons Women, is the opportunity to sort of drive some change. I've been around a little bit longer than a lot of people, but in doing so, I've seen a lot over my time, and that's really around championing the change from not necessarily being assertive. A lot of women in particular don't know where to start getting into the industry, don't necessarily have the confidence. And so one of the things I love is to connect people and say you can do anything you want in this industry. You just need a network around you, and you need to know where to go to find those opportunities.
Speaking of skill building, what role do you think, sponsored courses sponsored by the companies, like in other industries, we have companies sponsoring MBA programs for their middle and senior management. What kind of a role can that play in skills building in this industry, and specifically to retain and empower women in the industry?
So that's interesting. One of the things that came out of the Infrastructure Masons survey in 2023, and just bearing in mind that I Am Woman ran a global survey, so at every event that they took part in, they gauged the responses to 3 key questions for women in industry, and one of them related to training. And the reality is not enough women have training or have opportunities also for training. So not everyone works within an organisation who's prepared to invest, right? Training costs money as well, and so it's about understanding the value proposition that goes along with that. Many people now have gone out and been creative and set up their own businesses, or are literally small business owners, and again don't invest in themselves. Training goes a long way, and so training can be, for this industry, can consist of many different things, whether it's a transitional role, looking at how do you equip and empower your teams or staff to move from, say, a design role to an operations role or a commissioning role. How do you move sort of middle management into senior management roles? And so the industry really will not get ahead and will not both retain and retain the people that it really needs unless it does invest in its people. It does not need to be a huge investment, it needs to start with something. And so I'm really quite passionate about that, but I see training as an essential part of the ecosystem. And if you're working somewhere for an organisation or have an opportunity for government sponsorship, well, that's a really wonderful position to be in. I would say embrace that.
You have also been a huge advocate of mentoring people right from the ground up throughout their journey and growth in the industry. So what are some of your go-to mentoring techniques? How do you approach mentoring?
Thank you. I feel now mentoring is a privilege for me, because not only do I enjoy, I guess, sharing what I've got to say in some of my lessons. They haven't all been, good lessons for me. I've learned quite a lot along the way myself, I must say, but I get a lot out of actually working with people and learning myself, because we all learn at various stages. Well, I would say all stages. I actually really didn't have strong mentors at all. You might be surprised. I had one mentor, and that was actually my auntie, and she was a school teacher back then, a long time ago, and the mentorship she provided to me was, you can be anything you want to be if you apply yourself, you work hard and have faith in yourself. And so I reflect on that, and we all go through times like this in our own career journey. So I never had it. So for me now, I know that I've, in some regards, battled my way through various career opportunities and geographies, and I love doing what I do, but I love seeing the next generation come through. And so to me, mentoring, whether that's formal or informal, is really, really important, and we should all reach out and ask. And someone will say, yes, I'd be delighted to work with you, or look, thanks for asking, I don't have the capacity, but I feel grateful that you have considered me as a potential mentor. So I would say don't be scared and afraid to ask, because generally people are more generous with their time in this industry, I've found, than many others.
Apart from mentoring, do you think we also need a conducive regulatory environment, policies as well? Different geographies, you've Southeast Asian geography, you've come here to the Middle East. They are creating an environment for the growth of the cloud and data center industry. Would you have some inputs on what can be done on the policy level to encourage more women to join the industry and to retain them, more importantly? Because we see a lot of women coming in, but at some point later on they step away. They need to, because of cultural pressures, because of many societies being very, very traditional. So what do you think can be done on the policy level?
That's a really, really interesting question. I'm privileged to come from New Zealand, from a country that really promotes equal opportunity. I appreciate that absolutely in different parts of the world, not all women have that same opportunity. What's really lovely to see in Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, is actually they are very pro in terms of supporting women, and there is probably, compared to what I've seen, a disproportionate amount of women in some senior leadership roles, which I think is amazing, in particular in Singapore. If we talk about how we can attract women and retain them, we have to think about women, and some men obviously are, they could be the primary earner, they could be taking the lion's share of domestic responsibilities or elderly care. And in some cultures, the expectation is women just do that and a lot more. We now live in a world where women make up 51% of the world ecosystem. We have some amazing skilled women that are an absolute asset to this industry. We need really good flexible working policies. So, post-COVID, we all work so much more flexibly. We need to trust the people we're working with, not micromanage them. We need to embrace them with tools, training, opportunity, empower them to let them get off and do it. And so flexible working has to be a given. Maternity policies, so if we're talking about policy, some sort of government regulation around women, giving them what they need, which is fair and reasonable, but also gives them some incentive to come back to the workforce.
Exactly.
And it happens all over the world, so just do it. But being really open to ask your woman in your region what they need.
Ask the women, exactly.
Oh my God. Generally these policies are made up by some lovely men out there, don't get me wrong, by men, but involve women in these decision-making processes, and then you'll find the solution.
There's something I wanted to pick your brain on. That is, we've all seen the tech industry. It's considered a very dude bro industry. What have been your experiences like? Because you've probably seen the harsher realities earlier, and now things have evolved. What's your experience been like?
I love that, a dude bro culture. So, hell yes. Look, it totally. And it's really rough around the edges in some regard, and that is why it's not often always an attractive proposition for people to come into the industry. We have to change that. And so the dude bro culture, I'm pleased to say that, particularly in construction, it's rough. There's a lot of bias. Sometimes there's not a lot of respect. You have to build up your own resilience personally to be able to deal with it and actually call out behaviours that are unacceptable. And so when you build up your own strength and you know what good looks like and what poor behaviour looks like, then you can call it out. We know now we've got more organisations being proactive in this regard because they know that people don't want to work for, I could be rude, but I'd say difficult people. We need to work in teams, and we all work so much better as a team to deliver. So it can be tough. If you're working in an organisation where you're not respected, leave, okay? Because there's so much work opportunity out there. Go to where you will be valued and respected. And I think that's it. You don't need to put up with dude bro culture, and hopefully whoever those guys are, sometimes girls, but not that often I've found in my profession, hopefully they're called out and they'll be exited in time, because there's many more valuable, wonderful people ready to fill those shoes. Has that answered your question?
Yes, it has. I'd like to now ask you about the work that you've been doing with HerWorX and also the I Am Women initiative. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So look, HerWorX is a business I founded earlier this year after an executive career with a developer operator in Asia. So look, what I'm doing at the moment is in the data center sector for 28 years. So I'm working with a range of organisations around data center advisory, across Asia, but also up in Europe at the moment. So I've got partnerships. So I work in Europe and I work across the Asia Pacific region. I also offer assurance services. I come from a governance background. I have a professional director as well, but I like to bring my governance skills into the sector to be able to work with organisations from board down in terms of policies, practices and how they deliver projects and training. So the other aspect is training, working on, in particular, data centre industry, transitioning people from, say, a design role to an ops role to a commissioning role, or working with middle and senior middle managers to get them through to sort of senior management positions. So what are the types of skills, types of mindsets, the bespoke training pathway, working with organisations to help them bring their people up and keep their people. Drawing on a lot of work that I've done over the last 28 years, but also the wonderful exposure that I've had through organisations and leadership development and investment in myself.
Wonderful.
And from an IM perspective, IM Women, please look at infrastructure masons as an opportunity for training, because there are a large number of philanthropic donors globally who put money into infrastructure masons that can be drawn upon through a scholarship fund, and that's about giving people globally a leg up to enter the industry, and that's an amazing opportunity too that people should look at.
Excellent. Is this your first time at a CDC event here in the Middle East? Because I know you've come to W.Media CDC events in the APAC region.
Yeah. So it actually is. So I've been to Dubai a couple of times this year, but this is my first time at a W.Media event here in the region. So,
what's your experience been like today?
So look,
you're moderating a panel as well.
I'm moderating. Yes, I am this afternoon. I've got some fabulous women on that panel. It's the first time there's ever been a all-woman panel, as I understand it. And these women are rock stars. I've spoken to them all individually, and I'm really, honestly, I'm quite supercharged by the experiences and insights that they're going to bring. And it has made me think a lot about the Middle East and the opportunities here. I sat in this morning on the keynote in the first panel, and just really interesting to see, and I knew that it would be progressive, but to hear already the progressive nature of conversations and where the opportunity is in this region. So early impressions are fabulous.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us, Donna. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Delighted. Thank you.